In this video, let's look at some divisibility tests. But before we dive into these divisibility tests, let's first understand what divisibility really means. So let me take a number 36. And if I ask the question, is 36 divisible by 3? Another way to phrase the same question is 36 a multiple of 3? And the way I can answer this question is when I do 36 divided by 3, if my answer or my quotient is not a decimal, which really means that it is an integer. So let me say that. Or if I am dealing in remainders, if I get a remainder that is 0, then 36 is divisible by 3. So let's see, when I do 36 divided by 3, I get an answer or a quotient of 12. And 12 is not a decimal, it's an integer. And 36 divided by 3 gives me a remainder of 0, which means 36 is divisible by 3. But suppose if I were to take a number 37, and when I do 37 divided by 3, I get a quotient which is 12.3, which keeps repeating. Or if I have to talk about remainders, I would get a remainder of 1, which means 37 is not divisible by 3. So now that we understand what divisibility means, let's look at some of these divisibility tests. So the divisibility test for 2 is quite simple. If the last digit of a number is even, then the number is divisible by 2. Let's take an example, 53. So the last digit is 3, and 3 is an odd number. It is not an even number, which means 53 is not divisible by 2. Let's take another example. Say 1,396,874. Now in this really big number, what I'm really concerned about is the last digit. And since 4 is an even number, I know that this entire number is divisible by 2. Now let's look at the divisibility test for 4. If the number formed by the last 2 digits is divisible by 4, then the entire number is divisible by 4. So let's take an example. If I have the number 19,224, what I really need to look at is the last 2 digits. And since I know that 24 is divisible by 4, this entire number is divisible by 4. Let me take another example. Let's take like a really big number, 288,874,422. And in this really big number, what I really need to look at is the last 2 digits. I know that 22 is not divisible by 4, so I can say that this entire big number is not divisible by 4. Of course, one of the things that I also need to see is if I am given a number which ends in an odd number, say like 53, I know it's not divisible by 2, so it's not going to be divisible by 4, and it's not going to be divisible by 8. So now let's look at the divisibility test for 8. And the test for 8 is quite similar to the test for 4. So in 4, we were looking for the last 2 digits. In 8, we are going to look for the last 3 digits. And if the number formed by the last 3 digits is divisible by 8, then the entire number is divisible by 8. So let's take an example. 795,240. Again, I need to look at only the last 3 digits. And I know that 240 is divisible by 8. So this entire number is divisible by 8. Now I notice that my video is already more than 5 minutes long. So let's cover the rest of the divisibility tests in another video.